Just a quick reminder for those that missed the notice yesterday, we're going to be running on a slightly delayed publishing schedule for the next month or so, and we'll be getting the show up no later than 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, with today being the first day of the new time. Apologies for the temporary shift. If you're really jonesing for early morning news, swing over to mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed to subscribe to our newsfeed email newsletter, which bundles up all 50 or so relevant industry headlines every morning to your inbox by 7 a.m., even during this short temporary shifted period. Once again, that's mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, September 27th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 339 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is the big news out of Washington, D.C. that Chuck Rosenberg, acting head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, is resigning from his position and will be stepping down within the week. Mr. Rosenberg was tapped as the nation's top drug cop back in 2015 by President Obama, and according to an unnamed official quoted by the New York Times, is resigning because he has come to the conclusion that President Trump has little respect for the law. In recent months, Mr. Rosenberg clashed with President Trump after sending an email around to every DEA employee reminding them to treat criminal suspects with care after Trump crowed for police to get rougher at one of his ego stroke rallies in July. Mr. Rosenberg will appoint an interim replacement and said he will be leaving his position as of October 1st. We'll obviously report back on this one as that new person steps up. In recent weeks, I've reported on the controversy surrounding U.S. border agents asking Canadian travelers entering the United States about their past use of cannabis and the lifetime ban that can result from a wrong answer, in this case, admitting to having smoked pot in the past. Last month, a Canadian government official said that Canadian travelers should be honest when asked that question, but one U.S.-based immigration lawyer is saying that that is terrible, terrible advice. Global News has a good piece up talking to Len Saunders, an immigration lawyer practicing in Washington state, who said that unless they have a criminal offense for cannabis on their record, Canadians don't actually have to answer questions about their past marijuana use and have the option of withdrawing their request to cross rather than face the potential ban for life that comes as a reward for copping to having smoked in the past. If you don't have to answer the question, you don't have to lie to save your skin. This is a good one to open up to read in full. Our final top story of the day brings us back around to the East Coast to Massachusetts, where the State Cannabis Control Commission recently met yet again and talked over a host of issues, including the hiring of a full-time executive director and other key staff. Following the meeting, the commission's chair, Steve Hoffman, talked to reporters about the challenges the state could face in rolling out legal marijuana if too many towns and local municipalities impose moratoriums on the industry, as I've reported on earlier this month. According to the Globe's reporting, more than 100 municipalities have imposed such moratoriums so far, with more towns set to vote on similar bans in November. Mr. Hoffman said that while the commission can't ask towns not to ban legal marijuana businesses, it would do all it could to educate them about the economic benefits legal cannabis can bring. Also announced at the meeting was a series of listening sessions open to the public for giving feedback that will start next month. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Extractioneering, makers of the finest of legal marijuana concentrates and extracts. When it comes to the world of legal marijuana concentrates, you really don't want to mess around with who you get your product from. There's too much that can go wrong in the process of making extracts and concentrates to trust anyone but the best. And in this business, being the best means you understand that process on a deeply fundamental chemical level. Cannabis is such a complex beast to begin with, and coaxing out the best of it through concentration adds layers of magnitude to that complexity. That understanding is infused throughout the ranks of extractioneering from the top on down, and it shows in their products. See for yourself by opening up extractioneering.com, which is spelled like engineering, but with the word extraction. That's extractioneering.com. All right, time for the blitz. The New York Times has a great long-form piece up diving into a story of neighborly warfare in Oregon, at least of the verbal variety, fueled by cannabis cultivation and, from the read of it, a whole lot of bad communication. This one is instructive as a good lesson on how to not drop yourself into a local agricultural community as a cannabis farmer. The story focuses on hopeful cannabis cultivation entrepreneur Richard Wagner, who bought a piece of farmland in Willamette County, Oregon, with the intention of starting a decent-sized cannabis cultivation and processing business. Unfortunately, Mr. Wagner came up a little short in communicating his intentions and winning over his neighbors, and is engaged in a good old-fashioned battle of pissed-off neighbors. Read this one and then don't do what Mr. Wagner did. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. A recent survey conducted by researchers at Dalhousie University among just over 1,000 Canadians, asking them about their thoughts on marijuana edibles, found that 46% said they would try them if given the opportunity, with 39% saying they'd be willing to do so in a restaurant setting. Another survey of Canadians, this time by Oracle Poll, asked 5,000 adults of age if they thought marijuana cultivators should have the right to also run retail operations to sell their products, with a healthy 65% agreeing. This comes within the context of two Canadian provinces, Ontario and New Brunswick, announcing plans to lock out independent operators by controlling all legal marijuana sales through government-run shops, once adult use legalization starts next summer. The Calgary Herald has a great story up looking at the just-announced financial results from licensed Canadian medical marijuana producer Aurora Cannabis, which, despite having only generated $6 million in the latest quarter in revenue, is valued at well over $1 billion on the Canadian stock market. The Herald's piece looks at some of the reasons behind that giant gap between revenue and valuation, which mostly centers around the massive growth opportunities available to companies like Aurora in the next few years. Not a bad one to also open up to read in full. The state of Colorado is rolling out a new series of regulations for marijuana edibles that will go into effect on October 1st. The changes were mandated in a law passed last year and prohibit companies from selling edibles in shapes that could be attractive to underage consumers. Companies have had lots of lead time to adjust their production flow, and as Marijuana Business Daily is reporting, most aren't worried about the regulatory shift. A new study out of the Wisconsin School of Business at the University of Wisconsin-Madison suggests that legal marijuana has a positive effect on real estate value when industry business comes to town. The researchers behind the study looked at how dispensaries in Colorado affected the property values of their neighbors and found that those in close proximity to the shops found a faster rise in value than those farther away. Swing over to Gage Peak's piece on Leafly for all the details and the actual numeric breakdown. And finally for today, Georgia Tech is considering a plan to loosen up their policies on student-athletes and marijuana use by decoupling cannabis from other harder drugs and those that illegally enhance physical performance within the disciplinary process. Football coach Josh Pastner has a nice pragmatic attitude about the whole thing and told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, quote, "I don't want our guys to be smoking marijuana, but I do think there's opportunities to maybe not have it be as stringent," unquote. Considering that high-level student-athletes, especially football players, provide millions of dollars in benefits to their universities without getting paid a dime themselves, it does seem fair that they should not get booted from school should they act like many other college students by consuming cannabis every now and then. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Extractioneering, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.